Therefore, by the argument of textual criticism from the primacy of the documents, since there is nothing which omits it earlier than that, it is therefore accepted as being in the document until you produce documents earlier which do not have it. This is what I say.
Can you hear it, Rabbi?
Well, this is the latter part I didn't hear very well, but I understand what the discussion is about as to the nature of the text there in Josephus. Is that the discussion?
Yes, it is, sir. And whether or not this is a valid interpretation, which was most probably in the original and unproduced volumes of Josephus.
Well, I don't have any particular opinion on this question of the writings of Josephus. The question addressed to me was, what is not my personal opinion, I'm sure, but the opinion of the Jewish people, say the religious Jew, regarding the statement made previously by the Reverend, and that question I answered about the authenticity of the book or the passage in Josephus. About this, I have no personal knowledge. I'm not a student of history to be able to tell you from the standpoint of the book itself or the passage whether it's reliable or not. But the point is that we reject completely any kind of connection with the alleged execution of the one to whom reference was made earlier in the broadcast.
Can I address a question to him?
Yes.
Rabbi Hollander, this is Reverend Martin.
Yes, sir.
I simply would like to ask a question without getting into the problem of deicide. Simply this one important question relative to the historicity of Jesus of Nazareth. Is it not true that Judaism, from the very beginning of the Christian era up till the present day, has always acknowledged the historicity of the person Jesus of Nazareth?
What do you mean by acknowledge the historicity? I don't get that. Good.
Well, you just... Okay, I'll put it...
What do you mean, acknowledged what historicity?
All right. You denied categorically any complicity of the Jews living at that time in the crucifixion of Jesus of Nazareth. Therefore, fine. Then I am therefore asking you, is it not true that this has been the historic position of Judaism?
What has been the historic position?
The position that you denied any complicity in his death at that time.
That's exactly what I said.
That's precisely my point. In other words, from the very beginning
You're asking me to prove that there was Jesus Christ.
Wait just a moment. I am proving something. I am proving a very important point, if you can listen to it for a second. Namely, that Rabbi Hollander has just said that historically, from the earliest days, the Jewish position has been they have never believed that they were responsible for the crucifixion of Jesus of Nazareth. Yes. Fine. Well, you could hardly believe that from the earliest days if Jesus of Nazareth didn't exist.
Just a moment, please. You see, this is a very clever way of trying to get someone to say something indirectly. When I say that I reject any complicity, I don't have to, by making that statement, imply that other things that you believe are so. I was asked the question what is our reaction to your statement, and I said we reject it. Now, I don't have to go into tell you that we reject it because we believe.
Rabbi, you can't reject a statement without a historical basis for a rejection.
Well, I say I can reject the statement, but you are not trying to deduce from that rejection that I have conceded or have commented on his existence or non-existence.
Well, how in the world could you possibly make a statement?
Because on the 15th of May, I heard a Reverend so-and-so make a statement, and I am rejecting that statement. But you cannot read into that rejection what you want to read.
I'm asking you a simple question. Has it not been historically the position of the Jewish clergy since the earliest days of the Christian era that you are not responsible.
So,
Hasn't that been your position always?
exactly because
Well, how could you-
because
That's
we
my
are
point.
responsible now.
But Rabbi,
Whether
listen.
we are not responsible because we didn't do it as we didn't, or because no one did it.
Why would you bother to deny?
To the man.
I heard him. Why would you bother to deny historically
I'll
that
tell
you were
why.
guilty of
I'll tell
something
you
if
why.
nothing ever
Because
happened?
We bothered to deny very much because we were made to suffer intensely. So it was untrue, but if it was just untrue and it didn't affect our lives, we wouldn't bother to deny it. There are many things that are untrue. We don't go around denying things that are untrue. But this particular untruth was extremely painful by the kind and generous and pious believers who took it out on innocent Jewish people.
Rabbi,
We denied it was untrue, but we also denied it because the untruth in this case was being used against us.
Rabbi, can I ask you a question about historic Judaism?
Are you talking to me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, what is that?
He's talking to you, Rabbi Hollander.
Rabbi Hollander, let me ask you this question. The Talmud, which you have, you believe to be a commentary, I believe divinely inspired, or at least guided by God, upon the writings of the Old Testament.
Yes, God.
And the Talmud has been passed down through the Jewish people for many, many centuries. Is it not true that in the earliest copies of the Talmud, as far back as you can go, reference is made to Jesus of Nazareth as an illegitimate child, and that this statement does appear in the Talmud?
If you will read that text for me, so I'll comment upon it.
You know it as well as I
You're
do.
just paraphrasing something.
No, you know the text
And
as well as I
will
do.
not comment on your rendering of a statement unless you will be able to read for me precisely the statement to which you refer.
The statement to which I refer names Jesus ben Panderos.
If you will kindly.
Well, I haven't got a copy of the Talmud in my pocket, but the statement is there.
I don't know. I don't think that you have it in your pocket. It's quite obvious. You don't have to be facetious about it. I merely said that if you want me to comment on something, I have to be more clear on what you're referring to. Now you're saying a few things at the same time of what the Talmud says in its earlier editions. So I'm saying to you, if you want me to comment upon it, you have to be much more accurate than you are now.
But do you consider the Talmud to be an accurate historical document?
I do.
And you do maintain that the Talmud is of quite ancient vintage?
Go on.
And you do maintain that the copies of the Talmud which you have go back beyond the Middle Ages?
Go on, go on.
In its existing form. This is
In its
what we were
existing
talking
form.
about.
Correct?
No, you're trying...
Now, listen to the man. He's telling you. Mrs.
No,
Murray.
he's not telling me, because what you said was that the Jews have exactly the Talmud that they have now, or you implied this,
I said that...
and that they had this since before Jesus
No,
Christ was
wait a
born.
minute, wait a minute,
This
wait a
was the
minute.
implication of your
Jewish
statement.
commentary...
And the Jewish Talmud has not been around that long in the present condition in which it is now.
Would you care to comment, Rabbi Hollander?
I care to comment only this, that many non-Jewish governmental authorities and censors and church authorities have sought to put things into the Talmud or take out of it in order to bring some guilt upon the Jewish people. And this is why I said that before I would comment on anything that you say is in the Talmud, I have to be sure that you are quoting an authentic quotation therefrom, and not something that someone might have injected into a particular edition in order to find guilt against the Jewish people from their own alleged sources.
Rabbi,
And this is true, and you know, the Christians have constantly inserted into historical records, Jewish and otherwise, what they wanted to insert in order to prove their points.
Well,
you have been guilty of this since the very dawn of Christian era, inserting and editing and adding to, subtracting from.
Mrs. Murray,
You're very good at this.
I'm talking... no, don't get personal. I never did
I
anything.
use the generic you, please. I don't
Thank you.
understand.
I'm glad, because I don't want to be...
representing a certain stream of
I
thought.
understand.
You know
yes. I just want to bring this point out where Rabbi Hollander is concerned, and that is that the Jewish Talmud, he maintains, is a historically accurate document. It is very ancient, and it establishes, according to many good rabbinical scholars whom we have in our files at Christian Research Institute and have written extensively on the subject, the historicity of the man Jesus of Nazareth. Now, in addition to the Talmud, which is the source for this. There are also the 2nd and 3rd century arguments of the Church Fathers against the people who were trying to say that Jesus was not the Christ. They would hardly be arguing the point as unbelievers that close to the sources if the man never existed.
This isn't true because you're giving them the kind of sophistication that you have now and the background and historical references.